product that I use the most probably is Expedite. I love Expedite. I feel like I train for like 2 hours more when I'm on Expedite.
Hey everybody, how's it going? Marcos Villegas here in Los Angeles, being joined with Abel Sanchez, who's here with his fighter Gennady Golovkin as he signed a deal with DAZN to fight with the rest of his career on. A lot of things I want to ask you about the deal. First off, from what you heard from Gennady and the discussions you had, why did he choose DAZN over Fox and ESPN?
First of all, he had negotiations with everybody that has been mentioned. But for the last month, really, he's been on hiatus. He's been on vacation with his family, and when he felt it was time, unlike all the reliable sources that were out there saying what he was doing, it was time to finalize it. And he asked for certain things from DAZN. DAZN was able to provide those things for him, not only for his career, but for the future of his company with GGG Promotions, which he promotes Gennady Golovkin. He's got a new partner in DAZN, and I think that that partnership is going to do well for us.
Those things were what you mentioned, helping with growing GG Promotions, right?
He have three fights per year for those 2 years, but he also has an additional 2 shows to be able to develop his fighters, to be able to, so that we can put on shows by GGG Promotions. Tom Loeffler will be, who is the managing director of GGG Promotions, will be putting on shows in different places so that we can move the fighters that Gennady is intending to sign.
Okay, that's interesting because, and I'm not with or for whoever, but I know like Manny's deal with Fox, a big part of the reason why he signed with Fox and PBC was they were allowing him to bring his MP Promotions fighters and they're going to put them on cards. So I know they also were willing to do that as well. With that being said, was that the sticking point, you think?
No, I think the sticking point is that Gennady feels that not only is he equity sharing in that also,
which is a sweet deal in any deal,
that he feels that DAZN is the future. Gennady studied everything that was discussed by other people with him, and he felt that John Skipper and the things that he said and the things that they're planning was the best for his future and his career and the career of his company.
How much of a factor, though, was it also to get the third Canelo fight for him?
Oh, it's important. It's important because I think the fans want the fight. But if it happens, great. If it doesn't happen, we still got 6 fights with DAZN to do. His deal with DAZN doesn't speculate that he has to fight Canelo, but obviously we want it, they want it, I'm sure DAZN wants it, the fans want it. But what's important is for Gennady to fight those 6 fights against the best guys that are available and promote his other fighters on the other shows also.
The good thing is I don't think we're going to have to wait long for that third fight. I suppose if he went with ESPN or with Fox, we might have might have had to wait a little bit longer, or they would have not happened at all because they're different platforms.
Unfortunately, you're right. Unfortunately, the other platforms, the other networks don't seem to understand that they need to make the best fights regardless of who they're with. I know that they have interest, financial interest in some of the fighters, so it's difficult to do that. But the fans will buy what they feel like buying, and it's the best product. I think DAZN will put on the best product, and if it happens in September or if it happens next year, the fastest way that it can happen is by both being signed with the same company.
Now, there's been a lot of speculation with his relationship with Tom. Tom's not here. What's happening with that? Are you hearing that he's not part of the picture? Are you hearing that it's a reduced role now?
Unfortunately, the reliable sources from everybody wants to be first and wants to say something. It's difficult for us to say anything prior to this signing, prior to this press conference. But Gennady was out there in the forefront because he wants to be a promoter after his career. He wants to promote his company, he wants to promote GGG Promotions, and by being out in front, he's not only learning the business, but he's getting what he feels he needs to have for the future. Tom Loeffler is the managing director of GGG Promotions. The fighters that Gennady signs will be promoted by GGG Promotions, which is Tom. It's not Gennady is going to be doing the shows, it's Tom going to be doing the shows. And they will be coming to my gym. So Tom Loeffler is very much the promoter, if you want to call him the promoter, but he's actually, Gennady's never been promoted by anybody. Gennady, when he was first here in America in 2010, had a partner in, 2011, had a partner in K2. They weren't promoters for him, they were partners with him, as is DAZN. So Gennady's never been promoted by anybody and is not being promoted now by anybody, as in Eddie Hearn or Golden Boy or any of those. He is being promoted by GGG Promotions, and Tom Loeffler is the managing director.
So what happens at 360 then? No more 360?
360, of course, 360. That's a smaller platform that we can. If the most important thing for a fighter is to stay busy. So right now we have 5 shows per year with Gennady alone in the zone, and another 3 or 4 shows with Tom. That means we're able to fight these fighters every 90 days, every 2 months, and be able to develop the kind of talent that we could bring to the zone later, the Gennady can bring to the zone later. But they need to fight, and if we don't have the shows available, then they can't develop.
You think he can fight for 3 more years? When I saw that, I was kind of like, oh, okay, that's
2 more years.
I thought it was 3.
No, it's 3. You're right, 2 fights per year for 3 years.
Yeah.
If
by the time he's done, he'll be 40.
the opponents are there and the motivation is there, it's easy to get him to the gym. Yeah. If the opponents are there, then the mental motivation will be there for him to get to the gym and train as hard as he can. I think that there's fighters out there right now that we have 3 or 4 fights that would be motivation for him to be in the gym. And who knows who's going to develop after that. But right now we have this year covered. I think we have next year covered. We have Callum Smith. We have Gilberto that just moved up to 75, he says. We have that young man Bivol that's willing to drop down to 68. We have Munguia that's willing to go, he's 23 years old, so he's going to be growing into a middleweight. Obviously the Canelo fight somewhere in between there. So there's a lot of fights that are available. It's just a matter of getting this thing rolling and finalizing those fights.
So now it does make sense for him to move up. Have you talked to him about moving up, and does he actually want to do that?
We've discussed it for 2 or 3 years. He was willing to fight Chavez at a higher weight. He was willing to fight Gilberto at a higher weight. It just has to be the fight that's next, and the fight that can be negotiated, the fight that can be made, I should say. But yeah, of course we're willing. We talked about Callum Smith right after Callum Smith won that tournament. But it's something that Tom and I and Gennady have to sit down and make sure that it's in Gennady's best interest, in the zone's best interest, and it's something that the fans want to see.
What did Gennady think about Canelo moving up to super middleweight?
He thought it was good. Yeah, he thought it was good. I mean, it's deserving. Okay, he had 3 tough fights in a row, three fights in a row that were tough. So why not have a duck? Let's just say, not that Rocky was a duck, but Rocky wasn't on the level of the 3 fights before that. So I think
a lot of fans though had a problem with it, because he's not. He was going out saying that he was the champion, and when you had Callum was the real champion, and fans were kind of irked by that.
You know, all those fans that are complaining. I'd like to know when the last time they donated to the Boxers Pension Fund to be able to support these fighters that are taking advice from people that don't know nothing about their careers. Canelo's got to do what's best for Canelo, just like Golovkin's got to do what's best for Golovkin, and leave that all aside. If they don't want to watch the fight, don't watch it. Simple.
Now to Canelo and Jacobs. It's a great fight, 50-50 fight. And I remember when we talked, when you had Joe Joyce at the Wilder Fury fight, you said, no way that fight's going to happen. That fight's not going to happen. Tom Loeffler told me, no way that fight's not going to happen. Yeah. Well, Tom owes me a steak dinner. We bet. We had a handshake bet. And I remember, I never bet you. I should have bet you. Should have bet you.
I'll pay for Tom and take you to steak dinner.
Yeah. What steak dinner do you recommend? I want the most expensive because I know that guy has a lot of money.
With Chris's, we can go.
No, higher. You got higher in than that.
Okay, well, wherever you want to go, it don't matter.
Give me the recommendations. You know the good spots.
I don't know that many places around here. But wherever you think is the best, that's where we'll go.
All right, Tom, you heard. We're gonna high end, nothing but the best for me and Matt, my cameraman.
$10 from Tom later.
Speaking of the Canelo Jacobs fight, is it as close as what people are saying, or do you feel that there's a distinct advantage for either or fighter?
You mean the fight for the consolation bracket, for the losers bracket? Because Gennady beat both guys are fighting for Gennady's belts. That fight?
Oh, you're stirring the pot, Abel. You're stirring the pot. A lot of people are going to be like, no, what are you talking about? Jacobs beat Golovkin. Canelo beat Golovkin in the second fight.
You know what? After the second fight, I think that there was a poll and the writers, all the writers that were there, 48 of the 51 or 52 said the Gennady won. Okay, so supposed experts pick Gennady. But anyway, I think
Pause right there. Does it get him mad seeing all his belts there between the two of them?
No, that's something he's gotten over. Now, look, we just signed with the DAZN, got a great deal. He's got what he wants. He's going to fight again. He's gotten over that. We all have gotten over that, but we're not going to let anybody forget the fact that we think that he won, and a lot of people think that he won. I think it's a great fight. I think it's not a 50-50 fight. I think it's a 55-45 fight for Canelo. I think Canelo's a better fighter. Canelo's got more skill, but Canelo's got the onus. He's got the pressure on him to perform better than against Jacobs and Golovkin did against Jacobs. So he may make mistakes because he's going to try to do some things that maybe are not in his nature, but Canelo should win.
Should win.
Should win.
Should.
Yeah.
What if he doesn't?
As Gennady said, this is not about the belts. This is about fighting the best fighters that are out there. Jacobs beats Canelo, then Canelo's still, for me, a front runner to fight Golovkin, because I think that the two fights prior to that calls for that. And then if we go after Jacobs, we'll go after Jacobs. But I think regardless of what happens in this fight, I think that Canelo is the fight that, if given a choice between those two guys, Canelo is the fight that's got to happen regardless.
Going back to the first two fights, and the thing that sticks out to me is there was not a lot of body punches thrown by Golovkin.
By Canelo either.
But Golovkin, I don't want to say he built himself at, but you know, for like a Golovkin fight, he comes forward and he throws a lot of punches, but he throws such good punches at the body.
When he fought Liam Smith, he threw a lot of body punches.
Who? Canelo.
Canelo.
Yeah.
When he fought Rocky Fielding, he threw a lot of body punches. When he fought, except for Khan and maybe Angulo or Kirkland, he threw a lot of body punches in all his fights. But yet,
That's Golovkin's thing, though, right?
It depends on the guy you have in front of you. We may see that from the outside and we may practice that, but it's not something that they see on the inside. They're going to do what they think is best for the situation. We can only suggest in the corner. We can only suggest what we see from the outside. They may not see it. You know, the same thing with Chepo and Eddie. They may suggest to Canelo, but if Canelo doesn't see it, these are going to do something that he doesn't see inside the ring. They're a heck of a lot better. They're in a heck of a lot better position to view what needs to be done than us on the outside. We can't judge it by what they did in the past. We have to judge it by what they have in front of them.
So ultimately, you think with Canelo by knockout, Canelo by decision, Canelo split decision?
Canelo by decision, 16-12. Yeah.
So 8-4.
Yeah, I think that Canelo is a better fighter. I think that Canelo, and it may get easier towards the end because he'll be coasting, I think. But I don't think he'll take chances. He's going to have to look better, but I don't think he'll take chances because he doesn't have to. He's a good fighter.
Is there anything different in the third fight between Canelo and Golovkin, or anything you feel that is important that Golovkin must do, seeing that he had two fights in with Canelo?
Not only for Golovkin, but I think for Canelo also. I think that because of the controversy, I think both guys have, whether they want to admit it or not, I think both guys have this pressure on them to do something different. I just said about 48 of the 51 guys thought that Golovkin won, so that has to irk Canelo. And I'm sure it irked Golovkin at the beginning, not anymore because he's past that. Canelo must be past that too, but Jacob saying that he feels Golovkin won both fights, it's got to irk him. So it's something that they have pressure on themselves.
Oh no, Abel, don't be dying on us. We still need you, bro. We still need you around. Gennady has 3 fights. He needs you with your other fighters.
I've been talking too damn much.
Yeah, let me ask you this then. Do you feel you got to knock him out? Because with what you said, the first fight, you mentioned that a lot of fans felt he won, he gets a draw. Second fight, you feel was much closer. A lot of fans felt he either won or got a draw, and he loses. Do you feel?
Both guys need to. I think both guys feel that they need to. I don't think so. I think that depending on where the fight is, just like with Danny fighting in Vegas, he's 2 points down already going into the fight. I think that both guys feel like they need to.
Wait. Let me ask you on that. He's 2 points down. You feel like the judges are favoring Canelo. They're supposed to come in neutral and not favor that. So a fan that may be a new fan and hears that, they're going to be like, well, wait a second, aren't these judges supposed to be on an 11 playing field? Elaborate on that.
The unfortunate thing is that in Las Vegas, it's a history. It's not just one fight. It's a history of fights where there's controversy. I don't know why. If you remember C.J. Ross scoring a draw for Canelo against Floyd Mayweather, ridiculous. What's that lady's Bird that scored 118, 110 for Canelo against Golovkin in the first fight? So for some reason, there's controversy there all the time. I don't know why. It just seems that they favor, as in Julio Cesar Chavez at the beginning, in my era anyway, and then Floyd next, and now Canelo. They have a sentiment for the favorite, and it shouldn't be that way, but that's the only explanation I could have for all the controversies that continue to happen there.
Do you think it's coming from the top, or do you think there's more nefarious things happening?
No, I just think that they look at the future of boxing. I don't think it's anybody pressing any buttons. I think that the judges sit in that box in their chair, and they look at the future of boxing, and the benefit is going to the guy that maybe is the future of boxing. That's the only thing. I don't think there's anything coming from the top. I don't think anybody's being told to do that. I just think that for some reason the mindset is, that's the pretty guy, or that's the guy that's going to continue. He's 25 years old, or another guy's 50 years old, whatever he is. That's just the future. I don't think it's anything illegal. It's just human nature.
Abel, as always, pleasure chatting with you. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it, my man. Abel Sanchez, Marcos Villegas here in Los Angeles. Thank you.
Steak dinner.
Steak dinner
Yes.
on him
Yes.
and Tom.
Yes.
Go to one too.